Hi there, today we will be talking about visual arts, which is super fun. First I'll start off by talking about the frames, something pretty general that's applicable to everyone. So with the postmodern frame, you're expected to question practice in art and the generally accepted classification of artists, artworks, movements, and styles. You need to identify any inconsistencies in what is written about the artist, artwork, movement, or style. You have the opportunity to reevaluate notions of the artistic genius and the masterpiece, and study influences and chronologies, to reveal power relations, disjunctions, and hidden assumptions. The key words and terms are appropriation, challenging, quotation, popular culture, non-traditional media, new diversity, mass media, irony, parody, reinterpretation, the role of art, power, authorities, and classifications. The subjective frame. When discussing an artwork through this frame, you're expected to convey a personal response. Explore how the artwork makes you feel and why. You will also need to talk about the artist's expression, the individual style of the artwork, and who their inspiration for that style may have come from. Key words and terms include emotion, feelings, experiences, imagination, psychological experience, opinions, personal reactions, evocative, subconscious, intentions, memories, interpretations, mood, and themes. The structural frame. When discussing an artwork through this frame, you need to consider how it can be read and how its meaning understood in terms of how specific symbols refer to the world. You will discuss how information is conveyed in artworks, what the formal and organizational relationships in a work mean, and how the artwork shows up visual language at a certain time and over time. Signs and symbols. The signs and symbols are one of the important elements of the structural frame. Some signs and symbols are universal, while others mean certain things in certain cultures and different things to others. Key words for this frame is mediums, composition, signs, language, visual codes, techniques, form, direction, color tone, texture, and focal point is a good one. The final frame is the cultural frame. So that is, when discussing an artwork through the cultural frame, you need to consider how notions of cultural identity can inform the production of artworks. Research differing cultural attitudes towards the visual arts and the effects of scientific and technological innovation, politics, and economics. Look at concepts of social and cultural identity, for example, gender, indigenous, regional, national, modern, and contemporary, on artistic practices, in particular places and cultures, at a certain time and over time. The key words are identity, race, class, gender, place, art movements, art style, scientific and artistic practices, politics, economics, and cultural symbols. The conceptual framework, it provides a theoretical model for understanding the agencies of the art world, and the agencies of the art world are artist, audience, artwork, and the world. So to understand the conceptual framework, you need to understand how they work together to make a very important relationship with the artist at the center of it. They can connect themselves to the artwork, they can connect that artwork to the world, to an audience. It's a very extensive thing, and it's definitely something that's worth talking about in depth. So the artist. The artist has a functional relationship to each of the agencies in the conceptual framework generated by the frames. The function of the artist is not a fixed category and can be understood as roles that are assigned or assumed within the field at different times and places and in relation to the different value systems that are used to interpret their role. The intentions and characteristics artists develop with these complex networks of relationships contribute to practice. The agency of the artist includes a person making artworks individually, collaboratively, as a group, school, movement, or enlisting others to produce their work. Practitioners such as artists, craftspeople, designers, architects, filmmakers, performance artists, digital and multimodal practitioners. The audience play an active part in interpreting and describing meanings for artworks and art practices. The audience's function is ongoing and changeable, intrinsic to the resolution of meaning and the different interpretations of artworks as they occur in and inhabit different contexts, times, and places. The concept of the audience includes art critics and art historians, teachers, students, entrepreneurs, patrons, curators, dealers, members of the public, auction houses, writers, and theorists. Thank God that's over. Audiences are produced through the display of and interaction with artworks. And on the topic of interactive artworks, a lot of artists are moving to more interactive works, so the audience can, it's easier for them to develop their own meaning. They get to be a part of the work, and it can be, the artwork can be different every time someone interacts with an interactive work. So it's definitely breaking that barrier down between an artwork, an audience, and an artist. And artwork are intentionally conceived and made by artists working individually or collaboratively. Artworks have properties and forms that are material, virtual, physical, and symbolic that exist in combinations of materials, technical skills, concepts, and subjects. Artworks exist as representation of ideas that reflect such things as personal responses, cultural views, symbolic interpretations, and critical reinterpretations of other ideas. Artworks are representations of meanings when viewed interpretively by audiences. The form of production and reproduction affects how audiences view and infer meaning about the work. Artworks can be considered in physical, material, virtual, and ephemeral forms, as 2D, 3D, 4D, and time-based works, as art, craft, design, as 2 and 3-dimensional works, including architecture, 4-dimensional, and time-based works, as I just said, as well as multimodal and interactive media, temporal, ephemeral, and relational forms, synthetic realities, and other new and emergent technologies and forms. Whoa, that was a long sentence. World. The agencies of the world functions as a source of interest, ideas, conditions, and events represented by an artist in artworks. The agency of the world designates the systematic ideas of the time, existing theoretical commitments, and what is considered plausible and credible in the field of visual arts, representations of experience, class, ideology, age, and events of significance. As such, the world informs the significance of artistic choice and action as well as audience inferring of meaning. Art criticism and art history provide further insights and elaborations of the world. Audiences infer meaning through their interactions with artworks in relation to their thoughts, beliefs, and understanding of the world and art. Artists' response to the world may shape the dynamics of practice as a vigorous and changing entity. Artists can also investigate, interpret, and represent the world as a material, conceptual, and social experience, as well as a place of imaginings, intuition, and the personal as ideas for representation. The function of the world as it articulates differently, thank you, Ellie, through each frame, yes, you done? Is not to be confused with the culture frame, which refers to issues of power and identity arising from economic, social, and political. Thank you.